get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back seat! Tell me where you are, John!
Wolfman's got Nards!
Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about The Children from 2008. So we're going to stay with that Christmas theme today. Also, this is going to be a spoiler review, so if you don't want to know anything about it, don't watch the review. If you don't mind, or if you have seen the movie, then keep watching. I love the eerie opening to the movie. It reminds me of Halloween 4, only this time it's very Christmassy. It's not as long as Halloween 4's opening, but you get the gist of it and the feeling of isolation. A big family arrives to this little cottage in the middle of nowhere in England, and it consists of two families. You've got a mum and dad with 3 kids, and then you've got the dad's sister who brings her husband and their 2 kids. So it's quite a big family that come to celebrate the Christmas holidays. Out of all the children, we've got Casey, who is a teenager, so she's not quite an adult and she's not quite a child, so she's the one that kind of stands out like a sore thumb, but she's also the main character in the movie. The basic premise of the film is this family go to this little cabin and one of the children starts to get sick and passes on the bug to the other kids, and it seems to only affect kids. We don't know if it affects Casey at the moment, but it only seems to affect kids, and the virus causes the kids to do evil things to the adults. There's a bit of an awkward vibe between Casey and her Uncle Robert. It seems like her Uncle Robert fancies her. I don't know how or why, but it seems like he fancies her, so there's this little connection between those two, and it kind of establishes that there is something not between them, but there's something that Robert maybe likes in Casey, because Casey's on the phone to her friend who also sees him as the creepy uncle. Casey's dad, Jonah, is a scientist, I believe. They don't really go into all the backstories, but the way he speaks, it's possible that he's a scientist and he's discovered this virus that he's talking about. So we can only assume through this conversation that he's maybe brought the virus home and it's affected his kid, because his kid is the one that was affected first in the film, and then his kid has then subsequently passed it on to the other kids in the cottage. When the kids do become sick, they don't kill people straight away. They start to act up like naughty kids, and then it starts to progress. So as soon as we find out that one of the kids is sick, they then do something really bad, and then it progresses from there. It was strange going back to revisit this movie, because when I first watched the film in the cinema in 2008, I was only 24 years old and I had no kids. So watching it as an adult, watching it as a parent I should say, you watch the movie and you see the movie in a different light, because when I watched it for the first time when the kids were being bad and they're trying to kill the adults, I was saying to myself, just kill them, get out of there. But being a parent, if it's your kid that's doing it to you, it's going to be quite hard to decide what you want to do, because obviously you don't want to die, but in order to survive, do you have to kill that kid or do you have to kill your specific kid? It's a very tough choice, therefore it's a very tough watch as well, because there's some things in the film that the kids do to the adults that is very hard to watch. But then on the flip side, there's some things that the adults have to do to the kids, and it's horrific and sometimes it's very heartbreaking. As an adult and as a parent, you want to protect your kids, and even if you know your kids are doing something wrong, you would still defend them to the ends of the earth, even though you know they might be guilty of something. So all the way through the movie, even though the adults, or most of the adults, know there's something wrong with the kids, they decide to not believe it, and they all start, not all of them, but most of them start to blame Casey, who's a teenager, who seems to try to tell them everything that's happening and nobody will believe her. But she's at that age where nobody wants to believe what you're saying, they only want to believe what the kids are saying. There's a deeper backstory that they don't directly go into, but they leave subtle hints, and I like this. For example, you've got Casey, who doesn't really like her dad Jonah. They don't really get on, they don't see eye to eye, but they don't explain why. But we're spoon-fed slightly pieces of that information throughout the film until near the end, and we find out that Jonah is not Casey's dad. It's not like a revelation or a twist or anything. It just explains why they don't like each other. So she's obviously she was born when her mother was really young, and she got a tattoo of a stillborn on her stomach, and it shows that she was the unwanted child. So again, her mum obviously had her really young, and she maybe didn't want her at times, and leading up to remarrying, having another kid, etc. So actions throughout the film do have answers, but in a subtle way, and I like that. When we get to the ending of the film, it's not actually a shocking ending, but still it left me speechless because I was like, fuck. When we see Casey being sick, I'm thinking, okay, Casey is a teenager, but she's still classed as a child because we don't know what the virus is doing. We don't know how the virus is affecting these kids. So is she going to become one of the bad guys? But then when she looks around and all these other kids are coming around from the village, I was like, oh my god, this is affecting a lot more people than I thought it would. So has Jonah unleashed a virus outside the village? Or was maybe the little kid sick at a rest stop that's then caused other kids to be sick and spread it around the village? Or is it nothing to do with a virus that Jonah was talking about? Is it just all the kids everywhere in the world are just becoming evil? That's a really good part of this film where they don't fully explain that, because all the way through it you're thinking it's a virus, and potentially it is, and it probably is, but how far has it spread? How did it spread, and how did it spread so easily? We just don't know. But even outside of that aspect, with Casey being sick, was she sick because she saw one of the dead kids, or was she sick because she was becoming one of those kids? And it was quite hard for the mother because she just lost her kid, she's just lost her husband, and she sees her other kid, her teenager, standing outside with all these other kids, and she's trying to get into the car saying, let me in. But she's contemplating it because she's thinking, are you going to become one of these, or are you old enough not to become one of these? But she was hesitant, however she did let her into the car, and when they were driving away, Casey had a little smirk on her face, not definite, but she had enough of a smirk to know that she was becoming one of the evil kids. Overall guys, I think this film is fantastic. I think I liked it even more today than I did the first time I saw it. It just plays on your emotions with the kids and the adults. You've got obviously a snow setting, so that plays well with the blood theme because we do get quite a bit of blood in it. So it's very eerie when someone gets killed or someone has an accident because you've got that red and white contrast. Being from the UK, I think this is a realistic and relatable setting for the film because we see little cottages in the middle of nowhere, and we know how derelict they are, and we know how isolated they are. If you maybe have an accident and you're trying to get help, realistically, help doesn't come within 2 minutes. It can take half an hour, it can take an hour depending on how deep you are into the woods or wherever you are in the UK. So I think the setting plays with me because I know that it's a realistic setting. The movie clocks in at maybe 80 minutes or so, just over 80 minutes. But it's a slow burner as well, even though it is quite a short film. But once the film starts picking up, it's relentless until the very end. I think it was smartly written, it was very smartly directed, and I think it's a very touchy subject, like I mentioned before, because it does involve kids. Kids do have to die in the film, but not only do they have to die at the hands of their parents, which is absolutely horrific. But obviously being a parent, it would be an absolutely horrific ordeal and situation that you would find yourself in. Do you just sit there and let your kids kill you, or do you run away? How do you run away, knowing now that all the kids in the village or all the kids in the world have potentially become the same? There's just no escaping them. Therefore you have to kill these kids, which is unimaginable. So yeah, it's a very touchy subject. What would you do, guys, if your kid was attacking you and you knew they were evil and they became like a zombie almost? I don't know what I would do. I couldn't do it, so if I couldn't get away, unfortunately, I think I would just have to let my kid kill me. Anyway guys, if you've seen this movie, leave your comments down below, let me know what you think, but also let me know if you have kids and if you would let your kid kill you, or would you kill them? It's a very strange question, but it'll be interesting to see some of the answers down below and the reasons for it as well. But anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.